Hello, everybody. Welcome to the number 12 of my favorite top 30 checkmates of all time. And by the way, that picture at the beginning was my youngest son, whose birthday is the same as Bobby Fischer's birthday. And get this, his nickname is actually Bobby. And I don't think that's just, I think that's just coincidence because my wife started calling him Bobby and she doesn't even know who Bobby Fischer is really. So does it mean anything? I guess we'll find out. Now, the match today, I'm going to show you one match, but this checkmate that I'm talking about is not really a one match specifically. It's something that I've seen happen many times. To me, I've had it done to me, I've done it to other people, and I've actually seen it done just even very recently. And what I guess I would call it is when you're being attacked and the defender thinks he's defended the way checkmate could happen, and then something even worse happens a lot quicker. And I don't know what the name of that would be, except that I always kind of had a thought about it or a name for it in my head. And the match I'm going to show you is a fairly recent one that one of my students played, Jack Hawkins, where he played the black side and kind of got to use this. So let's go ahead and start out this match. Jack was playing black, pawn to e4, pawn to c5, that's the Sicilian, knight f3, and knight c6. What's a good way to open up the center, guys? Pause the video if you can think of something. What's a good way for white to open up the center? Okay, if you said pawn d4, you were correct. Very good. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes pawn. Is it a good idea now for black to take in the center? Pause the video if you need to. Okay, hopefully you said no, because if you let black take in the center, white has a queen and has all this control of the center four squares, so you do not want that to happen. So as black, it'd be best to just develop pieces, threatening a pawn. And look at this move. Now that is known, I think, as mainly the pelican defense. I think it has another name too. But like many moves in chess, pawn e5 has good and bad to it. The good is it tempos. It sort of develops and threatens at the same time. It takes control of the center and allows the bishop out. The bad is it creates kind of a backward pawn. And that's, so most moves in chess have a good and a bad to them. Knight to b5 with the threat of possibly checking, bishop for a knight, pawn comes up, and now white plays a move that really is tricky but not that good, I don't think. It's knight to d5 with the threat of forking the king and the rook. So black gets rid of that by taking, pawn takes back, and the knight moves over. This is actually a good move for white, pawn c4. And now this natural move that black has is actually quite bad. Natural in chess, a natural move means a move that you think, well, is logical to play, something that you should think of to play in this position. Pawn a6. Now you're probably thinking, Mr. Dean, how could that be bad? You're just threatening the knight will have to move away. Or does it? There's a move now that can really hurt black. Pause the video and see if you can find it. The move for white. Okay, if you said queen a4, you were right. Queen a4 threatens double check mate. Knight takes d6. Double checkmate. Wow. Checking from the knight and the queen. Obviously, if they take it, the queen will just take the rook. That might be the best move, though. And if they play bishop d7, knight takes d6 smothers mate. Pretty awesome. So sometimes the most natural move isn't necessarily the best one. But this game isn't so much about the opening. This is about this ending that's so spectacular and this type of ending. So let's get to it. The knight moves back, luckily for Jack. Jack moves knight g6, and then white plays bishop to d3, bishop e7, good developing. White castles, and then pawn f5. I do like that attacking move. I think black probably could have castled also. After that, pawn to f3, one of those moves that has some good to it, defends these squares, but the bad is it creates kind of a dark squared weakness towards the white king. So it also stops e4. So after that, castle for black, pawn to b3, white's good at fianchetto, and black says, would you care to trade? Help me get my queen out. And white says, no, thank you. I'll just move over. And now look at this nice check. Remember I talked about the weak dark squares? The king moves over, and the king's kind of a little looking weak here with this pawn. Now knight comes into f4, and then white offers a trade by playing knight to e2. And Jack actually told me, he said, well, Mr. Dean, I wanted to get the bishop pair, so I took here. Now, the bishop pair is when one side has the two bishops, the game, and the other side has not two bishops, could have a bishop and a knight or two knights. It's generally considered, on average, better to have the two bishops than have something else. So that's the bishop pair. So after that, queen, after that did check, knight here, queen takes, and then pawn f4, threatening the bishop, or guarding the bishop. After that, pawn f4, knight to c3, and look at this. Here comes the rook left. We know where that rook's going. Rook to f6, and I'm sure that white thought, uh-oh, this rook's coming, and then maybe the queen is coming out. This is going to be tough to play. But little did white know, it was much worse than that. So after the rook lifts happens, knight to e4. Can't say I like that move because you're threatening the rook, and the rook wants to move anyway. We know where it went. And now white was worried about this queen move and how to defend against that. But he had much worse to worry about. After that, queen to e2. Now I guess maybe what white was thinking was, okay, if the queen comes here, I can maybe play g3 and survive a little bit, even though that really looks pretty bad. But what is a move that's so much better than that? Go ahead and pause the video if you need to. Okay, guys, if you thought, Mr. Dean, I love rook takes h2, you were correct. After the check, all they can do is take back. They can't go here because of the bishop. And then what is the checkmate? Queen h4. Wow. Now, the guy in the game resigned before the queen came, but pretty awesome. So sometimes that'll happen where you're defending against some mate and it happens much quicker. Remember, these are my top 12 of all time, and this type of thing, or my top 30 of all time, and this type of mate has always been something I love and just love to see. The only time I don't love it is when it happens to me, though. I don't like it as much. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. We will be at number 11 very soon, and we will see you next time.